Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Gold Coast edition of the Village Law SEQFC preview show. My name's Darren. I love talking about football, and I love talking to football coaches because they generally know what they're on about. So we've got one with us this evening. His name is Nathan Mulhearn. He is the coach of Robina. Nathan, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Darren.
Great to have you with us. Now, before we get into the show, we're nine rounds in. You've got 1 point on the board. It's been a struggle this year.
Yeah, obviously it's not where we would like to be, considering we had a good season last year, made the top four after coming up from the Coast League the year before. It's not where we want to be. It's not where the players want to be. It's not where the club wants to be. But it's our reality at the moment. So we're large player turnover from last year. It's been a rebuilding. At times we just haven't had the players, and boys have stepped up from the reserve grade. And, you know, if you were to ask them, they'd tell you that's not where they want to play. You know, it's not their level.
What's been the reason for the turnover?
We were lucky last year. We got a few players from the NPL who've gone back to the NPL. We had Lockie Roos from, he's down at Preston Lions in Melbourne. So he went back down there after they got locked down last year. Brandon Reeves to Brisbane City, Curtis Stollery to Gold Coast Knights. You start to lose some good players, and then other boys, they start to look at the offers they get from elsewhere. We've got a few players that are at Broadbeach. So 3 of our players from last year are at Broadbeach. Those boys went there. And then, a bit of a splattering of other lads around other sides on the coast. So, those lads moved on to different things, and it's our job to then, rebuild and go from there.
It sounds like, if there's a silver lining in this, they've moved on for good reasons, because they've gone to, all due respect, really good clubs in a higher competition and are furthering their careers.
Yeah, some of them did that, definitely. Yeah, and other boys, went to play with some of their mates because their mates had left. So those boys that are going to play NPL and that, best of luck to them. Boys that are going to other clubs on the Gold Coast, that's life. Best of luck to them too, except when they play us.
What do you like at recruiting?
Not too bad, but it's an onerous task, I find. I'm not one to really look for people from other clubs, to be honest. I try and look outside the box, and I suppose that's me, and probably to my detriment at times. I'm sure, we're playing Broady this week, and they must be on the lookout for a new keeper, because I know they've hit up my keeper, and that's the game, I suppose. But I tend not to do that. And not that I wouldn't. It's just that it's not sort of the players I've gone after. I usually tend to think people are happy where they are. It's only when they're not happy and they sort of come to me that we have a chat, or boys that move into the area or have come back from Brisbane or the NPL or whatever. That's sort of where we're picking players up, not from the other clubs. Recruiting, something I probably dropped the ball personally on a little bit this year. And that might be why we are where we are. In saying that, the last sort of 2 weeks, we've picked up a number of players, and our results, we got our first point in the last round, which, was good. It's a good start. A few of those boys had come in. We've got another couple to come in this Saturday. It's unfortunately we had 2 players sent off against Burleigh for second yellows. So unfortunately they're out. So again, we sort of don't get our best team back on the park. But I mean, I'm a bit of an optimist. So I believe every time we go out in the park, we put a team out there to get something out of the game, to get a win. And, there's many different ways to win a game of football. And we go out there to try and win the game of football the best way that's going to suit the team and the players we have available on that day.
Not to dwell on the topic too much, but I would imagine that the recruitment of players would be the most frustrating part of being a coach. You
Yeah.
can do your drills, you can improve players and all the other stuff, but recruiting guys, it just must rankle with so many coaches.
Oh, look, mate, and look, you get young kids come to you at 18, 19, and they're expecting to get a little bit of money. You go, well, what have you done in senior football that,
that warrants
gives you the right to go and ask for money? And I don't know. I suppose I'm a little bit old school in that sense that I feel that people have got to earn that first. There's not a lot of money around on the Gold Coast in terms of match payments and that sort of thing, or remittance, or whatever you want to call it. So the players to get that are players who, are going to come in, they're going to be the players, they're going to be your leaders, your best player on the park, basically. So, yeah, when you get 18, 19-year-old boys running around looking for a bit of coin, it's a challenge of your values, I suppose. Yeah. Do you want to get relegated, or do you want to go against your values? So yeah. maybe it's a bit of middle ground. I don't know. Yeah. Can a soft drink and a Mars bar after the game. And that's not saying I won't give young players a go, because we've got a 17-year-old who scored our equaliser against Burleigh the other weekend. So, all for giving young blokes a go, but I just don't know whether money's the right motivator for them.
Sure, it's got to be the exposure. All right, let's get to last weekend's results. Now, there was only one match. Now it's the President's Cup. New concept to me. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, so the President's Cup is a bit of a tradition on the Gold Coast that got lost probably about 15 years ago, I think. And so basically the two teams at the halfway, on top of the table at the halfway mark, play off for the President's Cup. Now, I think the tradition was lost a little bit because we had an 8-team league. So if you played each other, there was a charity shield at the start of the year for the winner and the grand final winner last of the year before. So if you played a team then you played them 3 times in the league. Then you played him in the President's Cup. Then you played him in the major semi-final. Then you played him in the grand final. You're potentially playing the same team 7 times in the season. So right. I think that's where that sort of got lost. Oh, you had the FA Cup as well. It used to be part of what they called the Grand Slam. So you could win 5 trophies in a season. So and that was lost somewhere along the lines. And things have changed a little bit. We're back up to a 10-team comp. You got the FFA Cup. It was about, an extra opportunity to give teams the opportunity to win a grand final. Prize money disappeared from our league a couple of years ago. So I don't know if you're aware, we used to have between a 7 and 10 grand prize money for winning the league. And then there was a decent prize money for winning the grand final. That was voted against by the clubs. Obviously, 1 or 2 clubs get that money. So the other clubs voted against that, and it's been taken away. So it's another opportunity for a club to host a final that's going to get a good crowd and, get some revenue into the club. There's, look, hey, it's another opportunity to win a trophy. Maybe if you're the loser, you don't care too much about it. But if you're the winner, happy times, celebrate.
And speaking of happy times, Nerang will be thrilled because they've inflicted Surfers Paradise second loss in a row. Of course, with Surfers Paradise losing the week before in the FFA Cup to Sunshine Coast Wanderers. Yeah,
technically, if I was Surfers, I'd be saying we're still undefeated because we haven't been beaten in 90 minutes, but so be it. Yeah. Oh, look, Nerang's first Premier League trophy, Gold Coast Premier League trophy in their 49-year history. So, that's pretty special for them. I'm a past player at Nerang, and my dad played at Nerang back in the 70s. So I know a fair bit about their club and have a bit of a soft spot for them. So that's good for them. And look, some people watching this might know Nerang spent a number of years playing in the Brisbane leagues. They didn't come into the Gold Coast comp when it started in the early 80s or late 70s, whenever it was. So they spent a fair bit of time up until the mid-90s actually still playing in Brisbane. They were the last club So they were playing in the state league, the 4X league, until they what they do, they restructured that and they ended up back in. They had to start. They went from the 4X league and had to start back in Division 1 on the Gold Coast. So then get promoted to the Premier League. But yeah, so it's good for them. Surface, yeah, I know Alex said it was an exhibition game at the end, taking a little bit of the importance off it. But I'm sure if they'd won it, they'd be happy. They'd be happy.
Definitely. And Nerang were so excited, as you can see by our cover photo this week on our community page. We've Mon's photography took a brilliant shot there, and that is our featured Village Law photo of the week. So check that one out if you haven't already. All right, so let's have a quick squiz at the ladder. So Surfers Paradise still on top, 3-point gap over Nerang in second place. Surfers Paradise do have a make-up game to play against Broadbeach. The other places in the top 4, Southport and Palm Beach. Palm Beach, they're back.
They are, yeah. I suppose you always look at the draw, don't you, and see who you've got to play when. I think Palmy probably had a bit of a tough start. And then, yeah, they've come good. Got a few players back from injury, I hear, and that sort of thing. So, you know, you don't become a bad team overnight. You know, they've still got the majority of last year's squad. A couple of key players I think they lost, who they've taken a little bit of time to replace or get boys up to speed. So yeah, look, they've got a good thing down there, and you know, boys come in and they believe in the Palmy thing. They're all Palmy juniors and that sort of thing. So they look, they'll always be there or thereabouts. I think when you look at the league, Surface are out on top, and then the Nerang and Southport are quite close, and they're, you know, and Palmy are another good team. I think Nerang and Southport probably have a bit more overall better balance than Palmy, but on their day, Palmy will give teams, you know, a run in any team. Yeah.
Looking at the ladder at the moment, what's the biggest surprise for you with the positions?
Oh, that top 4 is no surprise at the start of the year. That's probably the top 4 that you would have picked. I suppose the surprise, you know, if you looked at last year's table, you know, the surprise would be us at the bottom. I think Burleigh, Kingscliff, Musgrave are probably all, you know, sort of where people expected them to be. Broady the same, you know, mid-table clubs who are going to fight for a top 4 spot, and can beat anyone on their day. I think Runaway Bay, you know, they've come up with a young team. I really think their probably thinking was, you know, come up and anything's a bonus. So yeah, look, it's probably no real surprises once we get to the halfway mark. There were surprises early on. You know, a couple of teams like Kingy started off really well. But yeah, then, you know, things get hard. You get injuries, you get, you know, suspensions, you get other things. So yeah, it becomes a battle of the fittest, really. And, you know, you look at those teams at the top and they've got the fittest lads, they've got the quickest lads, they've got the best technical players, and they're there for a reason. You know, they're well coached. You know, you look at those top 4 and, you know, they're very well coached, and there's no shying away from that fact. And that's nothing against the rest of us in the league. But you look at Alex, what he's done at Surface, Lee at Nerang, Steve's come over, what he did at Coomera, and he's come over and brought that over to Southport. Brett's obviously had that success and been able to build for a couple of years before that. So yeah, it takes time. And the other, you know, Philo obviously is, you know, well experienced, but he's struggling to get boys fit and on the park. So yeah, there's, you know, all those factors that play in. We've got another 9 games to go. So if you're to have a look at the top 4, and I don't know, you got the ladder there. How many points are Palmy on?
20. Oh, Palmy, they're on 13.
13. So that's nothing, is it? Like, you know, that's 4 wins. 4 wins. So 4 wins, you know, somebody wins 6 in the second round, all of a sudden you're, you know, you're potentially a chance. Any of those mid-table clubs like Broady or Kingy, Musgrave. So, yeah, it's wide open for those sort of last couple of spots in the top four.
Before we get on to this weekend's fixtures, I do want to ask you about Coomera. The fact that Steve left the club at the same time that they got promoted in the FQPL2. Looking at the ladder, Coomera haven't got a single point in FQPL2 this season. What's your take on that?
Oh, look, I think, when a club decides to go in a different direction, and they would probably look at it as a long-term prospect, I'd say Coomera. Not about this year. You can't get relegated from QPL2. So, they've got a bunch of kids basically playing, in that side. Whereas the year before that, a strong, solid side. Their resis were really young. I think that was, a big crux of what they wanted to do. They're planning for the future. I don't think they're too worried about their team coming last because, otherwise you'd be hearing about players being approached to go play for them. And I've not heard of one player that's been, tapped on the shoulder and say, hey, come help us out. It could be just that I don't know about that, but it seems that they've invested in their kids. You just hope that, they're actually improving and they're benefiting from that because, the younger players these days, they sometimes don't have that resilience. And it's hard. It's hard to get pumped every week.
Do you take notice of their results?
Look, to be honest, I haven't because I know they've been losing every week. So I haven't taken too much of it. I suppose probably Magic I've taken a bit more notice of because, they got lads that have played in our league for a while. They've got a few older lads, Robbie Smith, Andy Robertson, those guys I know. So you sort of know those guys and you want to see how they go. Brett Budway's son plays for them, young Cooper. I remember I was a small-sided games leader at Narang when Cooper played his first game of football. So, there's a few more links to Magic, I suppose.
Yep. Interesting. All right. Let's get back to the Gold Coast Premier League. So this weekend, we've got the Friday night game. We've got Palm Beach at home to Kingscliff. Saturday, Surfers Paradise against Musgrave. Southport against Runaway Bay. You're at home to Broadbeach. And the Sunday game is Narang against Burleigh Heads. Palm Beach Kingscliff, that looks to be an interesting great way to start the weekend.
Yeah, 6-pointer for that one. Both teams will think that they're a chance. They drew in the first game of the season. Kingy went out to a lead and should have been up 5-6-0 at halftime, created chance after chance after chance. Left Palmy in the game long enough and they come back. I think it was 3-0 or 3-1 or something that they come back from. Both teams would be looking forward to that. Ross signed a few Palmy squad players earlier in the year who've gone and done really good things at King. They'll be excited to go back to Palmy. They might cop a bit from the hill. So that'll be a good game, both Ross and Brett. Ross is very animated on the sideline, and Brett can be. He's pretty calm, but he is known to go off. I think he's calmed with his old age, though.
Bonds Photography, who has our photo this week, she's sent me a photo of Ross that I've just got stored away, and I'm going to unleash it at the perfect moment.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. I've seen it.
Now, Surfers Paradise up against Musgrave. Surfers Paradise will surely get back on track this weekend, yes?
Yeah, so they beat them 10-0 in the first game of the season. I watched that game, and that Musgrave that night was not the Musgrave that I've seen in other weeks. I think if Surfers let them play, they've got a young boy, Jaden Sonta. He's quality. Like, I've not seen, a 17, 18-year-old boy be able to lift a team and carry a team like he has since Mitch Nichols come into the Palm Beach first team when he was about 15. Mitch Nichols come into the first team Palmy were languishing. He come into the first team, they went on a run, made the grand final, won the grand final, like scraped into fourth place, made that all on the back of, his ability. So yeah, similar. Jaden's got similar qualities in being able to lift his team. So look, Surfers should win, absolutely, but I think it'll be closer than it was the first time for sure.
Jaden Sonta, not the first time he's been mentioned on this show.
No, and for good reason. He's a good player, good young player.
Southport Runaway Bay, again, you'd expect Southport to win?
Yes, and that is a result that I will be hoping goes according to plan. Obviously, Runaway Bay are the closest team to us, so we'll be hoping things go as they should. The one thing I will say is that Runaway Bay are setting up very defensively, and they're doing a very good job of it. I watched them play Nerang the other week, and it took Nerang until it was 1-1 with 10 minutes to go, less even, I think, and it ended up 3-1. But yeah, Runaway Bay defended very well.
Now, of course, you're taking on Broadbeach United. How are you going to go?
Yeah, look, I think we, it would have been nice to play last weekend actually to keep the momentum going. Obviously, a few of our boys from last year at Broadie. Robina actually formed as a breakaway from Broadbeach back in 1992. So there always a little bit of that hangs around, even if it's not the same people around. But look, I think we will give a good account of ourselves. It's our home game, so we'll be looking. As always, when you play at home, you look to get the 3 points. A couple of new additions, so looking forward to seeing them come in. A couple of surprises Broadie won't know about. And they didn't manage to get our goalkeeper, so we're all good.
Right. And that Sunday game, that's a bit of a banana skin there for Nerang, isn't it?
If they got Burley, was it?
That's right.
Yeah, so yes, yeah, Nerang and Burley, they'll match up quite well, I think. Nerang have got a good team though. I think they'll find a way in the end. But yeah, it won't be easy for them.
All right, let's turn our attentions now to the Coast League. And new leader, Tallabudger are on top on 27 points. Legends in second on 25. Now, Mark went on, a couple of weeks ago, Mark went on this fantastic rant about Legends.
Yeah.
And how he couldn't get over how such an experienced side with all these young guns, playing against all these young guns, and they couldn't beat them. Since then, teams have beaten them.
Yeah, look, I think
Legends have dropped points ever since Mark's rant, so it's obviously had an effect. Yeah,
so their first loss came against Tweed, and I've got some links to Tweed. I was there in 2017 when they got promoted to the Premier League. So talking to a few of the boys there, they were a bit, for want of a better word, pissed off about Mark's comments. So particularly when they hadn't even played them yet. So they were looking forward to play them, and they beat them 5-0 or 5-1 or something. I think what actually happened is Legends had to play a midweek game before they played Tweed. So they were knackered. They couldn't back up on the Saturday. And there was players backing up, playing reserve grade and first grade, from what I understand. So I think that was their youngest player they made do that. But yeah, so look, most teams would have expected Tally Valley to be on top, Tweed to be second. And it's looking pretty close to that at the moment. I know Legends are still hanging on to second place. But yeah, those teams over the course of a season, you would think, and I know Mark said that, he was at the start thinking, it's just for now, wait till they play this team, wait till they play that team. You would think over the course of the season, they're gonna struggle as, to stay at the top. If they make the finals, I'm sure they'll be over the moon with that. Look, I've thought about offering my services, I fit the age bracket.
We actually invited legends to be on the show tonight, but they had a game, unfortunately. But,
Oh, do they?
the person involved was had to play. So
Okay, fair enough.
quickly look at their fixtures this weekend. We've got Talabudra against Pack Pines, Tamborine Mountain against Ormo, Mudgeeraba playing Runaway Bay, Urang against Legends, Palm Beach against Musgrave, Tweed United with the bye. Do you know enough about this league to pick out the match of the weekend?
Oh, only a little bit. I think probably the pick of that round was Nerang and Legends. So Nerang have got a very young team. They were actually playing on the field opposite their Premier League when I saw the other week, and there was some decent players. He'll add Joseph, who plays up front for them. He's quality, like he's well and truly a Premier League player, in the Nerang side. So I think that would probably be the pick of the games.
I might just hold you up there. I've got a week ahead of myself. Pack Pines played Legends on Tuesday night and won 3-2. Tamborine Mountain played Mudgeeraba, Musgrave against Ormo, Talabudra against Palm Beach, Tweed United against Runaway Bay. Nerang have the bye. I was a week ahead of myself there. Apologies.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because Tweed played Runaway Bay last week, and they play them again this week. Last week was a catch-up game, and then that. So, yeah, you totally lost me on who's got who there. We might leave that. I think Tweed United might win, Tally Valley might win. So there you go. That'd be the morals.
Good stuff. All right, we might leave it there. Nathan, thank you so much for your time tonight. You've been a wealth of knowledge.
No worries. You're more than welcome.
And just before you go, I mean, we spoke about Coomera and Magic United. What about Gold Coast Knights and Gold Coast United? Where do they sit in everyone's thoughts in the local league? Are their results important to everyone on the coast?
Oh, I think people know the results. Depends. I know, boys at training talk about how the Knights went, how United went, that sort of thing. Because they've got mates in the team, they go watch, what have you. Or boys have played at those clubs and that sort of thing. Me personally, I was the president of the Gold Coast United Supporters Club when they were in the A-League. So I got a bit of an affiliation there still, where I try and get down and watch when I can and look for that. Obviously, the Knights were in the local league. So, at different times, they had really, really good teams in the local league. So I suppose they were a club that people love to hate a little bit. But obviously the work that's been done there by Adrian, the facilities that have been built there and all that sort of thing, you can only sit back and admire some of the things that they've done. I do wonder whether the NPL, given that you've got a top four that are just so far out from everyone else in terms of the funding that they have, do people turn off a little bit from it? I don't know. Maybe there's some good football to watch, yeah. But you go from fifth to however many teams they've got, the fifth to eighth, fifth to ninth, they're all, good teams. And then you go below that, and I really think some teams in our league would beat the ones below that. So, there's always that question around the validity of that league being the best league in the state. So, yeah, I think people care, and they'd like Gold Coast United and Gold Coast Knights to do well because they do represent the Gold Coast. I don't think people are upset when they lose or anything like that. I went and watched the Derby, United v Knights, great crowd. I was stood there watching it with Philo, and I said, look, great crowd, everything like that. Is anyone invested in the result? Like, great game. Josh Langdon had a blinder in goals. Gold Coast United had good chances. Knights had some chances, finished 1-0, but who cares?
Yeah.
Nobody was going home sad. Nobody was going home happy. I just think it's, they're not ingrained clubs where you've got those people that, the Knights maybe a little bit more so, they've been around a lot longer, so some of the older people still involved are like that. But yeah, it's different. It's good to watch that quality of football and have those clubs and that opportunity for the players. But yeah.
And that can take time just to
exactly.
get those years of support.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Good stuff. Nathan, you've been fantastic tonight. Thank you so much.
No worries. All good.
All right. This has been the Village Law SEQFC preview show. We will be back next week.